Hey, sixth graders. In this video today, we're going to go through, talk about what it is that you're going to do in class on this Friday. Three different things. One of those is going to be some video notes. And so in a moment, I'll share my screen here and we'll work on some notes. So if you need to, please pause the video and open up your document. Some of you are doing slides, some of you are doing Google Doc. There are a few of you that are handwriting to get your class notes for cells out, and then come back to the video and we'll go through what we're doing today and the notes. All right, let's go through what we're going to work on here today in class. So first up is the video notes, which we'll get started here in just a moment. Next, you guys began working on the gizmo yesterday. The sheet should be in your binder. You are working on completing that. I still have up on the board here over to the side of me what it is that you should be doing on the gizmo. And I went through those directions with you yesterday. So you're following that, and you should be able to get that done in class today. And then the third thing is an Edpuzzle. I took the Edpuzzle parts of the cell that was due earlier this week, and I split it into two videos. And so you had the one that was due earlier, and now this is part two. So please go ahead and watch that. If you do not get to the Edpuzzle, it's not homework over the weekend. It'll be due next week, probably Tuesday or Wednesday. We'll talk about that when I'm back in class on Monday. So let's go ahead and get into the notes. All right, where we left off should have been with cell membrane. Cell membrane. If you don't have that, okay, you'll have to get that from me at another time to go back to do it. If in your class period we got to cell wall, forward the video a little bit until you see the slide change. Most classes need this slide, but there's one class that does not. So if you're the class that doesn't need this, forward the video until you see the slide change. Otherwise, listen and follow along and fill out the notes in your document. Here we go. All right, so last time we talked about the cell membrane, and that's one of the boundary organelles, boundary meaning along the outside of the cell. The cell wall is the other one. Now, the cell wall is made of this really rigid material called cellulose. And if you've ever bitten into a piece of celery and see that stringy stuff after you bite into it, that's cellulose. And so it's a rigid material that helps form a boundary on the outside of the cell membrane. Okay, so it's on the outside of the cell membrane. And because it's so rigid, it helps with structure and it helps with protection, right? Protection, because it's so rigid, it's almost like it's an extra layer, armor, if you will, to help protect the cell. Structure in terms of being able to support it. Because the next bullet here says in plant cells, not in animal cells. So here's our first organelle that we've talked about in class where there's a difference between plant and animal cells. Cell walls do not exist in animal cells. They are in plant cells. So not only is it the protection, but think about a piece of grass or a tree, a bush. Yes, these things have roots and that help hold it. But also for it to grow up against gravity, it's going to need some sort of structure to it. And it doesn't have a skeletal system, right? There's no bones in a plant. So part of that system and that structure comes from this cell wall. Every single cell that makes up that plant, that tree, that piece of grass has this cell wall to help with support to hold it up. So it's in plant cells, not in animal cells. Animal cells, its outer boundary is the cell membrane. For plant cells, it's the cell membrane, and then outside of the cell membrane, the very outside of the cell, the very edge boundary, is the cell wall. Okay, pause it if you still need to type in. Otherwise, let's move on to the next one. All right, we're changing from boundary organelles to now organelles that are energy transformers. So a new little subheading here, energy transformers. There's two of these. First one, the mitochondria. Okay, so that's pronounced mitochondria. Mitochondria. The CH is a hard CH, a K, not a ch. Like, it's like the word chaos, not like the word pitch or, I don't know, chocolate. It's not like that. It's like chaos or stomach, CH. All right, mitochondria. All right, something really important happens in mitochondria. It's called cellular respiration. And you guys will learn about all the specifics of cellular respiration next year in 7th grade. But what cellular respiration, its end product, is taking glucose, which is sugar, nutrients from food, and turning it into this stuff called ATP, adenosine triphosphate. You don't need to know that this year. You will next year. All you need to know that ATP is this year is you need to know that it is energy, and it's usable energy. Our cells need energy to function. Our bodies need energy. When we did our energy unit, we had the old bag of Fritos back there. And we talked about how, that represented chemical energy because we get chemical energy from the bonds stored in food through digestion. Here's the energy, ATP, to be able to do the processes our cells and bodies need. And so when we think about what is the function of a mitochondria, it's to get energy, store energy. In fact, it's so important. It's in plant animal cells and is known as the powerhouse or the power plant. Because just like a power plant that's making electricity for cities to use to be able to function properly, the mitochondria is taking food and turning it into energy for our bodies to use, specifically the cells. Okay? Take a look at what it looks like there on the side. The drawing, as the second picture underneath here, kind of looks like a potato, the sole of a shoe, a jelly bean. This is a cross-section diagram of it there that you'll see something that looks more like that when you do your gizmo with the Simlet. All right, one more slide. Pause it if you need to copy any of that down. Same category, or same subheading, I should say, energy transformers. This one, unique just to plants, and this one is the chloroplasts. Chloroplast. A couple things happen in the chloroplast. One of them is that it has this pigment called chlorophyll, and that's what helps make plants green. And there's this whole thing about chlorophyll and the production of chlorophyll and summertime and green leaves and fall time and not having green leaves that I don't want to spend time talking about in the video. Maybe if you guys remind me, I'll talk about it in class next week. But the green, for the green of the grass and of the leaves of the tree, come from this pigment called chlorophyll. That chlorophyll absorbs sunlight. And that's important because plants need photosynthesis. This is where photosynthesis takes place. They take in light to make glucose, food. So hopefully, this is triggering for you what we just saw on the last slide. It had the word glucose on the last slide. Mitochondria take glucose and turn it into energy. Well, animals get it from eating. We eat stuff. Plants can't eat. They make their own food. But then this process in the mitochondria is the same. Chloroplasts are in plants because plants can't eat. So they need photosynthesis to make their food. Mitochondria then take that food, take that glucose, and turn it into the energy that that organism needs to survive. So chloroplasts technically don't make the energy. They make the food from sunlight and water and carbon dioxide. Those are all the ingredients in photosynthesis. You'll learn about that next year in depth too. Okay, obviously, we do not have chloroplasts. We need to eat, right? I always thought that would be an interesting concept if our cells had chloroplasts and how different our lives would be where we just absorbed sunlight and we got all the energy and food we needed and we didn't actually have to cook. We didn't have to sit and eat. How much extra time we would have, right? Think about lunchtime in the cafeteria. We would just sit there underneath some lights for like 10 minutes and we'd be full, ready to go. All right, chloroplasts in plant cells, not in animal cells. If I had to call it something or relate it to something, it's kind of like a solar panel, right? It's taking in the sun's light to be able to help with energy. In this case, food that's going to be turned into energy. Okay. Once you have that, that's the end of the notes. Okay, you're good for there. We'll pick up from here next week. Next, over here, I still have written what you need to be doing for the gizmo. If you finish that in class, you can turn it in on the desk, turn it into Miss P here at the desk. And then you can go to Edpuzzle. Just go right to the website and it'll be there. I'm not going to put a link in Google Classroom for it. Just go right to the website and you'll see it in there. Okay? All right, everyone, have a good day. Make sure you are doing the work. Stay on task. Get your work done. That's my expectation. There's no reason it can't get done. You have plenty of time. So get your work done, and I'll see you Monday. Have a good day.